Great manager.
That's all we need to do for that. Icky Thump, White Stripes. You engineer the whole record. Jack produces it. It's one of the greatest things. The kick drum on that. I feel like I'm in the movie Braveheart and we're going out to battle and avenge our fallen brothers' deaths. And it's just boom, boom, boom. The story of how you met Jack White, the demos, how you guys went into Nashville, Tennessee, BLACKBIRD Studio D, which we were just at last weekend, or how did you meet Jack White?
I met Jack through his manager, Ian Montone. Ian was managing the Shins, who I had just produced an album for.
Wow.
And Ian was kind enough to really love that Wincing the Night Away album that I did for the Shins, and said, hey, I want to introduce you to Jack White. And Jack called me up and said, hey, I have to do this solo track. It's a Hank Williams song where they found a manuscript. They found a number of manuscripts of unfinished Hank Williams songs where he wrote the lyrics but never recorded anything. So it was up to Jack to actually come up with the chord changes and the melody and really finish the song. And yeah, it was pretty amazing.
What song was that?
Bob Dylan, what's that?
Well, that's Old Crow Medicine Show, what they did with the Bob Dylan lyrics too.
Exactly.
Same thing. Yeah.
Similar kind of thing. That's right. Yeah, so we went into BLACKBIRD for a day or so and did this track to, he had a 2-inch 8-track machine that sounds amazing, one-of-a-kind machine, and recorded it live to that. And, Jack and I got on just great and, called me thereafter and said, hey, I got to do a White Stripes record. Are you interested in doing it? And of course, being a fan, I was like, yeah, I'd love to take a part in that.
So they're in Detroit then, right?
Jack had already moved to Nashville. Meg was still in Detroit, yeah.
The White Stripes, the partnership between them two is obviously one of the greatest things ever. The groove that they created is so iconic. How do you describe Meg and Jack White?
Just perfect musical chemistry. She fully understood where he wants to go with a tune, where he wants to go with the dynamics, the tempo, the groove. They were just so locked. When you're in the studio and there's great players, great connection between the players, this thing happens that's bigger than everybody that's a part of it. It just magnifies. It sounds like God. It just sounds amazing. And there have been a number of times, Elton John and other people I've worked with where I've had that sensation of like, what just happened? How is that possible? A minute ago, it sounded like rubble and you don't know where you're going. And then the next thing, it just all connects and boom, it's magical. Meg and Jack, when they were on, just no one will ever be the White Stripes other than the two of them. Yeah. It's just a pretty incredible combination. The simplicity of her parts and the power and her ability to just float with him tempo-wise, it was just magical. Really, really magical every day. Part of it is the magic of that is it's so back on the beat. It's so, the thing that gives it the power is that it's just got so much tension in there. Yeah. And, with another drummer, it's just a different thing. When I recorded the Raconteurs with Jack, Patrick Heeler is a fantastic drummer. He's like Keith Moon or something. He's really one of the best drummers I've ever recorded. But it's really different. It would never be the White Stripes. It just wouldn't be that tone.
How much pre-production did you do on Icky Thump for the whole record? Were you in Detroit then, going up and seeing them?
No. They did a couple of afternoons, I think, at Jack's house, just rehearsing the tunes, him showing Meg the riffs, and it was pretty much all done in the studio. I mean, the great thing that I love about Jack or Elton John or anybody that really works fast, it forces you to really be in the moment and be intuitive and not overthink, not get too wound up. And Jack is always like, I got an idea, let's do this, bang, let's do the next thing, bang, let's do the next thing. Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics, same thing, never really overthinks anything. It's all from the gut. It's all like, that first take that we were talking about earlier. It's just going for it and then moving on and going for it and moving on and not looking back. At some point you can stop and go, okay, wait a minute, too many ideas, let's lose these, or let's lose that in the verse, keep that in the chorus, and you can do a little editing. But there's something about when you work at that quick pace where you don't get to overthink anything, like the Jason Mraz track that was done in an afternoon because it was a throwaway almost. And even, we talked about the Young the Giant record. Wasn't a lot of overthinking on that record because they didn't have the budget to do it. We had to get it done. I think the budget was $75,000 maybe all in, top to bottom for that record. Because it was, it was Roadrunner Records. It was a new band, and I think that's what was spent on it.
What was the budget for Icky Thump?
I don't remember. I mean, hard to say. And I mean, I do remember this. I do remember Jack licensing the record and getting a healthy fee for licensing the record. And a number of people in the industry at the time thought like, wow, that's incredible that they were able to make that kind of deal for this license. But they paid the license back in a matter of a week or two of release because it was so successful,
Wow.
So
how's he do his vocals? Because it's so charismatic and just amazing. Is he in a vocal booth all overdubs?
A couple of the vocals might have been live on the White Stripes record. Most of them overdubbed. Icky Thump definitely took a little bit of work because there's two lead vocals really that are going kind of back and forth in the tune. So it took a little while to get that. They were deliberately mic'd differently and treated differently to be almost like a kind of Zeppelin thing. And we definitely, Jack was very particular about the distortion on his voice, getting it to break up in a way that was exciting and, as he would call it, Little Richard-like sounding. Because if you remember all those old records from the 50s and early 60s, they were all so distorted and blown up that it added to this sense of energy and danger, And so we were always kind of chasing that a little bit.
Tracking to tape too.
All tracked to 16-track analog tape. Yeah.
Raconteurs as well. Tape.
Raconteurs was two 16-track machines locked together, and the only reason we really did the second machine was that there were a lot of backgrounds. Brendan was brilliant at really, trying different background parts and orchestrating a lot of like the harmonies. So we needed a lot of tracks for those. No Pro Tools.
And he's on Fender amps, those clean lower tones, and the really aggressive. What's the other amp?
Pretty much Jack's sound then was a Fender Twin. In fact, I think it was a 70s Silverface Fender Twin that, was barely on 2 or 3. I'm sorry.
Silvertone?
Sorry. He had a Silvertone amp as well. Okay. The Fender Twin was a Silverface, the later 70s, and he also had a Silvertone 1485, I think, which is the bigger piggyback one that was kind of meant to be a bass amp. Mm-hmm. And he would kind of have it EQ to a certain extent where the low end came from the silver tone, but the meat of the tune, the mid-range of the sound really came from the Fender Twin.
Wow. How long were you guys in studio for?
I think there were some starts and stops in the sessions, definitely a break before we mixed it. It didn't seem like long, maybe a month overall. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
I think we did a few extra tunes, and there were some tunes that we maybe cut once or twice, recut them. I know the whole mix for the album took like 5 days. I was pretty much mixing like 2 songs, maybe even 3 songs in a day. It was really quick mixing because it was only, it's a 2-piece. It's only 16 tracks, 15 tracks actually. And it went down pretty quickly.
He's had such an incredible career. He reinvents himself. He really knows what his fans want too, and he gets off on that. And
he really gets off on that.
Performance is amazing.
He's great, and he's performing when he gets in the studio, when he solos, when he sings. He's going for it. He's not shy. He's got, he's got a great sense of confidence in terms of really where he knows where he wants to go with the record. And there were songs on that record, Raconteur's record, where he knew the moment he walked in the studio at 10:30 what he wanted to do that day, where he was going, and just kind of went for it.